I very much appreciate that. I don't see any other elected officials in the room, and I can spot them, believe me. I would like to ask Cynthia Moulton, who is a professor from Castleton College, if she can come up and say a few words.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Cynthia Moulton, and as Bob mentioned, I'm actually from Castleton University, although I'm not speaking for the university. I'm speaking as a person that for the last 25 years has been teaching ecology and ecotoxicology at the university as a full-time professor. Before that, though, I did work for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and before that, I actually worked for the U.S. EPA in the Office of Pesticides, in the Ecological Effects Branch. And I have written and collaborated on many risk assessments that the EPA puts forth regarding pesticides. And I can tell you that it's not an approval process, it's a registration. The EPA registers pesticides because they are poisons. And once you have a registration for a pesticide, you can track it, you can monitor how often it's bought and used, and how much of it is used. And if you want to look up some of that data, you will see that hundreds, maybe thousands of pounds of pesticides have been put into our lakes and ponds in Vermont. These are all tested on an individual basis, not as the collective dumping ground of the many different toxins that we seem to be able to tolerate being put into our lakes and ponds. The risk assessment process that the EPA conducts requires a minimum number of studies on a few select species of organisms, and that risk assessment is used to compare that product to other currently registered products. And so the toxicity of that pesticide is really a frame of reference. What we don't know about any of these products that get put into our lakes and ponds is what impact those toxins are having on our health, on our long-term reproductive success, on the outcome of our future pregnancies in the case of young children, boys and girls, as they age. We don't know what kind of epidemiological studies are done on those pesticides until after the exposure has occurred. We don't know what any of these pesticides, the impact they may have on our endocrine systems, on our autoimmune system. And as everybody is quite aware, these are problems that our society are currently facing. When you do a study on fish or Daphnia magna, which is the typical aquatic invertebrate that's tested, you are not looking for signs of health concerns. You're looking at whether or not these organisms die. We are testing these products to figure out at what concentration is the probable concentration that will allow 50% of the organisms exposed to that concentration to die. As Vermonters, I don't think we want death to be the bar at which we measure safety. We want to know whether or not the contaminants that we are purposefully putting in our lakes and ponds are imposing ill effects on our health and happiness in our future. We are not going to find that in a test, in a 48-hour test or a 96-hour test that the EPA requires chemical companies to either contract out or perform. There's not enough testing done on Procellachlor or anything else that is currently being used in our lakes and ponds to determine its safety. If we want to look at safety, the EPA is doing a risk assessment. They expect the states, and they are registered, and the states are supposed to do a risk management analysis. That management analysis is going to is basically the hazard times the exposure equals risk. What we want and what we think that H31 can do for us is allow the state time to rewrite the rules so that the DEC has actually the power to use the fact that if we don't know enough about it and there is not that great of a need for it, just because milfoil exists in the current standards and the current laws and guidelines, it seems that the fact that milfoil exists is enough reason to put these chemicals in our water. We want that analysis to be much more nuanced and much more geared towards the precautionary principle, not geared towards chemical companies like CPRO or lake management companies whose management strategy is to apply chemicals, telling us that what we need to do for our lakes is put more chemicals in them. We want our state government biologists and toxicologists to put our health in front of killing a weed. Thank you.
We have a few more people who'd like to say something here.